Hi everybody, welcome to Tomato Junkie's Kitchen, also known as Sarah's Kitchen. I just wanted to do a quick video today talking about turkey. It kind of got on my mind because I was in the grocery store today, and I just wanted to give you a few tips on preparing for doing your Thanksgiving turkey if you happen to be the one that's going to cook. I think I mentioned in a previous video that I prefer a fresh turkey to a frozen one. And one of the main reasons is most all of the frozen turkeys are injected, meaning they've put some type of a salt broth solution into the meat of the turkey. And a lot of times they're very salty. I've had some of them that, over the years that were really, really bad. They had a lot of salt. And I want to be able to control the salt in the turkey and how the turkey is, seasoned and prepared and all of that. So I think it is worth the money to get a fresh turkey because they seem to be the only ones that you can get that aren't injected. Probably the only exception to that would be something like a kosher brand like Empire. Coleman is a kosher brand, I believe. They may have frozen turkeys that aren't injected, but all the big brands like Butterball, Honeysuckle White, all of those turkeys are injected. I saw one today. It was at Deerberg's, my favorite place to shop here in St. Louis. And of course it was injected. So if you all want, just let me know. If you want me to roast a turkey, like a small one or whatever, and show you some particulars about it, I can. But I'm going to have enough interest to actually do that. Last year, I was fortunate enough to be able to get a pasture-raised turkey from a local farm, and I'm doing that again this year, and it was the best turkey I've ever had. The taste of the meat was fantastic, and it was just really good. For those of you that live in the area, it's Benny's Best Meats, and it's a local farm. It's located in Weldon Spring, Missouri. So anyway, that's where I'm getting it again this year. Now, over the years, I have wet brined my turkeys. But I started last year doing a dry brine, and I really prefer it. I think the advantage is that it doesn't change the texture of the meat where wet brining does. It kind of makes the meat a little bit spongy, for lack of a better word. So I'm going to be doing the dry brine, and I will put the recipe for it below in the comments. And the science behind dry brining is a little bit different. What happens in dry brining is it draws the moisture out of the turkey. So if you're thinking that, you're right. It does initially draw the moisture out, but then it puts the moisture back in along with whatever your seasonings are. So, and they've studied this scientifically, and that's how it works. It does mean that you probably have to start the brining a little bit sooner. I would say you got to give it at least 48 hours for it to be properly dry brined, and 72 hours is probably even better. So that's why I prefer a dry brine, and that's the science behind it. As far as stuffing or dressing goes, I hope none of you are still stuffing your turkey, actually putting stuffing in the cavity, because the problem with that is to get the stuffing up to temperature, you are overcooking the turkey. So it's really not a good idea. I would put it in a separate dish and cook it. That's the way I do it. I put it in a separate dish and cook it separately because of that particular reason. And the other thing about cooking a turkey that is so important is to have a thermometer. Now this is one of the ones that I have. I got it right side up. It's kind of like, that's one of the ones I have, and it's got the probe on it. Those are instant reads. There's a lot of good brands out there that you can find to use, but you have to have a thermometer. Those pop-up timers that come in turkeys, just pull that thing out and throw it away because they are so not reliable. You can undercook or overcook the turkey before that thing pops up, and it's usually overcook it. So before you cook your turkey, when you brined it, make sure that you get it out, and you're going to have to rinse it. And try to let it to come to room temperature, and that applies to every type of meat, protein that you cook. When you cook it at room temperature, it cooks more evenly, and you'll get an overall better result. For a turkey, you're going to have to get it out at least an hour in advance and maybe more. So that's one of the other keys to doing a good turkey, is to bring it to room temperature, get a good thermometer so that you know when the thing is done, and then give it rest time. A turkey, depending on the size, you got to let it rest a minimum of 20 minutes. And the turkeys that I cook are usually 20 pounders, and you can easily let the thing rest for an hour and it'll still be hot. The purpose of resting time is to let the juices redistribute in the meat. If you cut it immediately, the juices will run out and you'll, lose what you've been trying to achieve, which was a moist meat. So always allow your meats and proteins to have rest time, and it varies depending on what it is and the size of it. But for a turkey, I'd say a bare minimum of 20 minutes. Tint it or cover it lightly with some heavy-duty aluminum foil while it's resting, and that will help it maintain its heat, and it'll also help those juices do what they're supposed to be doing in the meat. As far as gravy goes, one of the tools that I use that's been invaluable over the years is this thing. And if you've never seen one before, it's a fat separator. This little thing, this little stopper is in there so that when you pour the drippings in there, they don't immediately come up in the spout. It kind of keeps them down below while it's separating. So that's why that is. And then the top has a bit of a strainer in it. So I always use this, and it's what happens is, the fat, it comes to the top and you can go ahead and get rid of it through the spout. So anyway, that thing is invaluable. I really, really like it, and I always use it. My gravy, I typically almost always thicken it with cornstarch. The reason being is you can't always know exactly how much gravy you're going to have, and you got to kind of know that when you put flour in and cook it with the drippings. So I typically thicken it with cornstarch. The other thing I do with my gravy is I always use some white wine to deglaze the pan. It adds a wonderful flavor, I think, and it doesn't taste, when you taste it, it doesn't taste, jump out at you like, oh, there's wine in this. It just doesn't. So anyway, those are a few of the tips that I have for making a great turkey, and you can make it turn out right every time, and it won't be dry, and it'll be cooked properly if you, follow these tips that I'm giving you. And hope that helps. Please leave any questions that you have for me and any feedback. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate if you share my page with your friends. I'm really trying to get more followers, so I think I do have some things that might be helpful to people, so that's really why I'm trying to get it to grow. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your views and your shares and all of that, and I'll see you soon.